2 weeks, give or take, into training camp and the pads and everything. And the Cowboys' first preseason game is now rapidly approaching on Sunday. So we're going to have an updated look at some Cowboys training camp winners and losers. Reminder, it is Kool-Aid and hype season. So always keep that in mind. Winner does not mean this is going to be a top 5 player. Loser does not mean they're no longer an NFL caliber player. It's all relative to expectations and potential impact. Now, unfortunately, we are not leading in shares this month in the NFC East. I'm not including the Bears because they had a watch party. They are not eligible to be counted against until we at least get one. We are 76 behind compared to Giants now. Help us out. Share today's video, whether it's Twitter or X, Facebook, Instagram, texting it, whatever. Share today's video for me. I'll put 2 tackles as I cheat right off the bat by putting 2 players at once, and it's not the last time I'll do that either. I'm going to do Asim Richards and Tyler Guyton. Now, when he has had the opportunities to play with the first team at left tackle, in part because Adoga's been a bit nicked up and also bad, and Guyton missed a few days due to illness, I think Richards has played really well. In fact, I would argue he's probably been your second best left tackle out there, behind Tyler Guyton. When he has not been sick, I think pretty clearly he has been this team's best option at left tackle. And I don't want to do anything stupid by not putting him out there at left tackle week 1. In fact, I think it's fine to play him in the preseason. You might keep him a little bit on a lower pitch count there and give other players a chance to showcase what they can do, since you might need to trade at least one person. Brock Hoffman is next up here, the center. Look, Cooper Beebe has had a bit of a more steep learning curve when it comes to snaps than I think all of us had thought it was going to be. He's getting better. I think there's still a lot of appreciation within the building for what Beebe has done so far. I think the reality is Brock Hoffman's probably going to start at center, and I think that does say as much about him as it does about Beebe. I think it's probably a testament to how good Hoffman has looked, how he's gotten better from last year to this year. With the entire Duke Manyweather starting 5 offensive line, despite losing 2 good players, and especially Tyron Smith, but also Tyler Biadasz, there has been a lot of hope placed on this team that come season's end, at least, the Cowboys' offensive line will be better than what it was last year. So do you believe that will be the case? Will this Cowboys offensive line be better than what it was last year? Y for yes, N for no in the comments of today's show. Jalen Tolbert is next up here. It's not quite a done deal yet. He's still got a month-ish before the season begins. He's going to be your wide receiver 3. He has been pretty steadily good. Not just a big day here and then kind of cools off, but pretty steadily consistent and impactful so far. He is not the only wide receiver who has looked very sharp so far at training camp. Depending on what day it is, a bunch of different receivers showing up. Some days it's Jalen Brooks. Some days it's Tyron Billy-Johnson, who's probably been, of your depth receivers, i.e. not Cooks, and, Turpin's done some different things, probably been behind Tolbert. He's been pretty impressive. Got a still tough battle to make the 53-man roster. David Durden's had some good days. Jalen Cropper's had a couple good days. Racey McMath has flashed. You're going to try to get some of these guys to the practice squad because can't carry those 5 guys, and Turpin, and Tolbert, and Cooks, and Lamb. So somebody's are going to get cut. I don't know if that's proper grammar, but we're going to roll with it. So how many wide receivers do you think make the Cowboys roster? Is it 6? Can you push 7? Which I think might be a little tough for the way this team is built right now. How many wideouts do you think make the Cowboys roster this year? Over to cornerback, Caelen Carson. We did a short on this on Thursday. I love what I've seen. Every day it's like, who looked good? Yeah, people who were there. Caelen Carson played pretty well. Awesome. Keep it up. Cowboys have a strong track record on day 3 with 5th, 6th round DBs. I hope Carson is their next big hit. Jourdan Lewis is next up here. And I like what I've seen from Lewis pretty consistently, too. It seems like every day, nice pass breakup by Jourdan Lewis. Actually, one of the few guys to pick off Dak Prescott for the team drills and stuff. Knowing, of course, that not all throw attempts are created equal, and you really shouldn't worry too much about that. Hope we learned our lesson last year. But he's made a bunch of plays I think he fits really well in this Mike Zimmer defense. Today's show is made possible by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and helps cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. You can see all your subscriptions in one place, stay on top of upcoming bills, and if you see something you don't want, guess what? Rocket Money can help cancel it with just a few taps. They will even try to negotiate to lower your bills for you, sometimes up to 20%. Submit a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and counting, and it's a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions. Save members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. That's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's rocketmoney.com/Cowboys. Let's go to the linebackers here. And I'm just going to put them, a lot of them together. Now, they've made some shuffling in terms of who's on the roster, who's not. With they cut Byron Vaughn, who teaser we'll get to here. Added guys like Nick Vigil and Darius Harris. Your top four is pretty clear. In no particular order, outside of, I guess, I'm going to put Leaf out 4. Overshown at the weak side spot, Kendricks in the middle, Clark at strong side linebacker, and your weak side and strong side, I think, can still rotate in a little bit. And I think all 4 guys are going to play. I think all 4 guys have been impressive. This is the area that I'm like, you are better than what you were last year. I don't know if there's really a spot right now you can say that at any other position group on the roster. Because last year you were down to 1.5 linebackers, if that, depending on how you want to count Marquise Bell and Damone Clark. Maybe it was 1.25 linebackers since the weights were not very good. I think Overshown's going to be a really good piece for you long term. I think Kendricks gives you vet stability. Clark looks way better. And I think Leofau could potentially make an impact. This team seems to like him quite a bit. Next up is Dak Prescott. To an extent, maybe a little bit because Trey Lance is, as we warned, clearly not taking his job anytime soon. But one reason why I'm putting Dak on here is that at least in these team drills, the stuff that's mattered, the offense has actually been able to move the ball a little bit and had some success on red zone stuff, despite not having CeeDee Lamb. I think that's a positive thing. And knowing that camp and the running back stuff isn't, you're not really seeing a bunch of broken tackles. It's kind of not a great measuring stick at times outside of just straight speed. The offense has moved the ball pretty well. I think that's probably testament to at least partially your QB. How about Terence Steele? Remember last year was like, oh man, Steele's getting worked a lot. We were talking about, Steele looking kind of rough, coming back from his injury. Have you guys noticed the way that I have? No one's really been mentioning Terence Steele. It's not like name hasn't been mentioned a bunch, not a lot of clips. That's a good thing. You know why? It means he's not getting worked. It's not like, oh yeah, Tank Lawrence destroys, Terence Steele 5 times in a practice. Hasn't really been the case. I think that bodes well for Steele, who sounds like looks more like the 2022 version of himself than the 2023 version. If you guys want a training, if you would be so kind as to name a Cowboys training camp rumor, I was going to be like, I want you, and said, if you want, which doesn't make any sense. So I want you to name that Cowboys training camp winner for me in the comments. Marshawn Kneeland, and this is at least in part due to the opportunity he's going to have to face. With Sam Williams out for the year, I am a bit anxious about this defensive end room. You're going to use Micah Parsons there. He'll rotate around. I think someone had tried to say that Sam was going to play 70% of the snaps. I don't actually think it was going to be that high because that's not how most teams rotate their pass rushers. But he's going to play a lot. He was going to borderline triple a snap count. He's going to double it at least. So Kneeland is now being counted on in an even heavier way than I think this team was going to. I'm excited to see the Cowboys' first preseason game, and we'll do some more winners and losers on the Monday after it. So don't miss our first Cowboys watch party. Hit that sub button and make sure you guys tune in. First up, on our Cowboys camp losers, we got to have the conversation about Peyton Hendershot. Banged up again with a seemingly minor injury. Had already did the same. I'm open on a seam shot, and he drops it. I think there's a real chance that Hendershot is already on the outside looking in right now. Whether it is behind John Stevens and or Princeton Fant and or maybe Brevin Spann-Ford, I think Hendershot faces a tough path to making the 53, barring injuries, which hopefully we don't get. Remember when we went through that wide receiver list a couple minutes ago and Ryan Flournoy wasn't out there? He just hasn't been able to be out there enough due to that knee injury. Now, he's back now, but I think there's a lot of pressure on him to impress in the preseason. I still want to put down that anytime Trey Lance to Ryan Flournoy touchdown bomb. I was convinced it was going to happen, but he missed a lot of time at camp. He's playing catch-up as we move into the preseason. So name a Cowboys training camp loser for me. Drop that player name or names in the comments. Pains me dearly. Got to do it. Got to put Deuce Vaughn on this list. He has also missed time with a hamstring injury. I thought that the path for Vaughn, one of the paths for Vaughn to making the 53-man roster, obviously impress in training camp in the preseason, and do some good stuff on kick returns, which I think that there is one roster spot that's going to be allocated to the number 2 kick returner, or at least tiebreakers to someone if two guys are close there. I thought Vaughn had a chance to do that because I think vision's going to matter with these things. But if you're not out there, still battling that hamstring injury, if that continues to linger, we start to get into secretly IR stash territory, which hopefully it's over soon. But if it reflares even potentially too, that's all concerns. All right, Viliami Fefeoko. Been real quiet for him, which is not a good sign either. His sponsor's gone. Dan Quinn is now in Washington. I think he is stuck. Everyone coming out is like he can play DE or DT, but he's a tweener, right? And that has really come to fruition. He's not athletic enough to be a full-time defensive end, I don't believe. And he's not powerful enough, strong enough to hold up as a full-time DT right now. So unless something changes and he starts looking way better, he's kind of caught in no man's land where you really don't want to be. I kind of feel bad doing this, but this is football. It's hard. Byron Vaughn's on this list because he's the one guy that got cut. Cowboys signed some players, and they put Sam Williams on IR, temporarily put CeeDee Lamb on the did not report list. Byron Vaughn's got cut. So that one's unfortunately a bit of a no-brainer on the loser side.